this knowledge to whom? Who was the first recipient of this knowledge? Krishna told Arjuna that, my dear Arjuna, don't think I am experimenting with you. There's nothing which I am giving you new. This has already been tried and tested, and it has held the test of time. So this knowledge was imparted first to whom? To sun god Vivaswan, millions of years back. And this knowledge has been flowing down in the disciplic section, evam parampara prapta. And what is this knowledge? What is this transcendental knowledge? What is so special about this transcendental knowledge? Why this knowledge is so rare? What is transcendental knowledge? No, but what is it about? What is it? What is the content? What is the subject matter? Why Krishna says that this knowledge is very, very guhyam. Krishna said that this is very secret, very confidential knowledge. In the third verse he says, Bhakto sime sakha cheti rahasyam etad uttamam. So this is the most confidential, most secret knowledge. So what is secret about this knowledge? What is this knowledge all about? We have discussed so far in verse 33. In so many days when I was not coming, were you ever revising? Did you revise the verses? Then how this knowledge will enter your heart? Chanting is one thing. If when you are eating, you will say, I am not breathing. Chanting is required to be able to have purity to understand this knowledge. But the effort has to be made. What is the transcendental knowledge? Why is it so? Rahasyam etad uttamam. This is the transcendental mystery. Why it is so mystical or mysterious? Give the mic.
It can only be understood through the paripraśnena.
Now, what is it about? What is to be understood? What is this knowledge about? What is this transcendental knowledge?
Our relationship with the Supreme Lord.
First, who we are. The modern man is so much deep in ignorance that he does not know who he is. And then, of course, to come to the spiritual platform to understand that he is eternal and he has eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is transcendental. Is that knowledge available anywhere? No. That is why this is such a secret. Rahasyam etad uttamam. And then Krishna speaks about himself. He gives knowledge about himself. That although he appears in this material world, he is transcendental. He appears in his spiritual form. And Krishna says, who can know him? Whoever knows him, janma karma cha me divyam, he becomes liberated. And that was the first section from verse number 1 to 10. And then in the next section from 11 to 15, how Krishna reciprocates with different people, with different category of people, according to their approaches. Krishna says, what is the verse? Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tatheva bhajami. So as one approaches me, I reciprocate with him accordingly. If you try to take advantage of Krishna, can we take advantage of Krishna? No, Krishna will take advantage of us. So he reciprocates with us according to our approach. And then in the next section, Krishna talks about how to come to the platform of jnānaṁ. Because this chapter is talking about knowledge. So how to come to the platform of transcendental knowledge? How to elevate oneself from the lower modes of passion and ignorance to come and purify our existence, to realize our eternal existence. So what Krishna recommends is action which is based on knowledge, to perform karma on the level of jnana. So that were verses 16 to 24. Anyone remembers any section? What Krishna spoke in this section? How to perform action in knowledge? Any examples? We have spent more than 2 months on this chapter. Hare Krishna. Come. You have to become very sincere if you have to receive this knowledge. This knowledge cannot be received by just, casual approach. It has to be very sincere. What are the examples of one who is performing action on the platform of knowledge? How to know a person who is backed up with transcendental knowledge? What are his symptoms? How to identify him? What character or what attribute he exhibits? Whole section, big section we discussed, 16 to 24, around 9 verses. Actions at the platform of knowledge. How to know who is a person who is in knowledge? So how he acts and what is the difference in his action? Of course, his action is based on his consciousness, which is backed by knowledge. So what is the internal disposition of a person who is situated in transcendental knowledge? Is it making sense? I'm just reviewing the chapter. Because there were some intervals in between. The continuity was broken. Krishna spoke also. Sa kalena mahata yogo nashta parantapa. So in this yuga of Kali, there will always be interruptions and intervals. So what we have to do? We have to rewind and revive. Some examples of one who is performing action on the platform of knowledge. The 4th chapter, we have okay, very good. What are the verse? Which verse? Tell me the verse number. No, don't see what is the verse in reference, what you are speaking. Bhagavad Gita is meant for scrutinizingly being studied. You have to put your heart. This knowledge is received in the heart, not in the head. Anything of the heart, can you ever forget? Someone gave you some, treat which you liked very much. Since your childhood, you got that and you are relishing it even now, isn't it? Why? Because it touched your heart. But this knowledge is not touching our heart. So we are forgetting. Then we cannot receive it. Pradeep, in so many days when we were not here, were you revising? You did not revise. Then how you will get advantage? How you will receive this knowledge? You have to revise. I will not repeat. But if you don't revise every day, just spend 15 minutes. Every day. You have 24 hours. And in each hour, there are 60 minutes. How many minutes in a day? 24 into 60. How many minutes? 1440. If you cannot spend 15 minutes for your own benefit, what is the purpose? And then Krishna spoke about the sacrifices, various sacrifices. How many sacrifices he recommended? Host of sacrifices he recommended for different levels of people according to Varna and Ashram. That section was from verse number 25 till 33. Krishna spoke about the sacrifice to the demigods. Then he spoke about sacrifice to the... Tell me, out of 10, you at least recite 4 or 5. Yes, what were the sacrifice sections? Anyone remembers what sacrifices Krishna recommended? Huh? Yes, Krishna recommended. But what was the sequence? What was the sequence of sacrifices Krishna recommended? There are 10 sacrifices which Krishna recommends. Again, go through this chapter. I don't know what you are reading. And you read this chapter, that chapter, the chapters that we are teaching. Why don't you read that chapter to get some understanding and in-depth know-how of that chapter? And finally, in the 30th verse, when Krishna is concluding all the sacrifices, he says, what is the purpose of the sacrifices? Anyone remembers what are the purpose of performing these sacrifices? The objective is to gain transcendental knowledge. Yeah. But before one gains transcendental knowledge, what are the gains that he gets? First thing, that he is able to regulate and control his senses. That is number one. What is the other benefit? Why to perform these sacrifices? Verse number 30 is cleansed of sinful reaction. Yagna shapita kalmashaha. To be freed from all sinful reaction. It is obvious. Ones whose senses are controlled, they will not commit any sinful activity. Then he is yanti brahma sanatanam. That he advanced towards the supreme eternal atmosphere, which is the Brahman. He comes to the eternity platform. And what he experiences, yagya thishta amrita bhujo. He tastes the nectar of immortality. Having tasted the nectar of immortality. So 4 advantages. What are the 4 advantages? First, he is able to control his mind and senses. He is freed from sinful reaction. He comes to the eternal platform of Brahman realization. And 4, even in this life, he leads the life of tasting nectar. That means in his life there is no worry, there is no misery. He is eternally ever happy. He is enjoying the nectar. So all these processes which Krishna has given elaborately, the culmination of it, so many step by step Krishna recommended from verse number 15, that if you perform the worship to demigods, sacrifices to them, then sacrifice to the supreme Brahman, then sacrificing the control of the senses, how? By offering the senses in the fire, the sense objects into the fire. So the process which is recommended for the brahmachari is to hearing process. By the process of hearing, to give away the sense gratification. So what is recommended? If there is a hearing session, if there is a class going on, we should give up all early adjustment. Then for the grihasthas, what is the object of sacrifices? Is to control their sex life, to give up the object of sex. And then in the 27th verse, Krishna spoke about the control of mind and senses through the Ashtanga Yoga section. Niyam, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dhyan, dharana, and kendra. And then Krishna spoke about giving up the material possessions. and performing severe austerities, penances, practice of eightfold yoga, studying of the Vedas. So all these sacrifices Krishna has recommended. And then finally, what is the purpose of all these sacrifices that Krishna has recommended? To come to the transcendental platform, to receive this knowledge. But now Krishna, after summarizing all this, in this section, which is the final section, which begins from this verse, from the 34th verse that we will discuss today, Krishna glorifies the transcendental knowledge and explains the qualities. So one stroke, one can achieve all of it, what Krishna has explained so far before. And that what is that one stroke method, or what is that master stroke? But in one way, you can achieve all that has been explained before. How many of you are interested in one stroke method? Everyone is interested. And what is that one stroke method that surpasses all other methods? That is this beautiful verse of today's verse. One of the most important verse of Bhagavad. The most important verse of Bhagavad. This is verse number 34. Tad viddhi paripraśnena paripraśnena sevayā upadekṣyanti te jñānaṁ jñāninas tattva-darśinaḥ. So tat viddhi. So far Krishna was describing so many vidhis of performing selfless work, nishkam karma yoga. And then Krishna was recommending the process of so many sacrifices. But now he is giving the conclusion that no one vidhi, that vidhi, tat vidhi, that process, or that perfection of the process. What is the perfection of all the processes? Is paripraśnena. What is paripat? Pari and path. Paripat means to submit. In Sanskrit, it is samyak rupena patena. What it means? Patena means to fall flat. To fall flat. To whom? To a bona fide spiritual master. So that process through which you can submit to the spiritual master, where you can fall flat at his lotus feet. And what? Just not falling flat. There are many people who come. When we go out, many people come and just they want to touch the feet. But will they gain anything? Not much. So how to get the gain? The ultimate gain. Krishna explains next. Very important word. 3 words are very important. The first thing is the submission. Is surrendering process. Is to submit. That is paripraśnena. And one who has submitted, what he has to do? Paripraśnena. He has to inquire. What kind of inquiry? Not any inquiry. We also make any inquiry. When you will go outside, you will inquire, what is the time? Or if you go to the market, what you will inquire? What is the rate? Not that kind of inquiry. Paripraśnena. Again, the word prani and pari. Prani is for submission and pari is for relevance. So what kind of inquiry after submission one has to do is paripraśnena. Tasmad gurum prapadyate jigyasu shreya uttamam. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, it comes. What kind of inquiry? Shreyas. There are 2 kinds of endeavors in this human body. Everyone is inclined in the first. What is that? Is prayers. Prayers means immediate benefit. Benefit which is relating to one's mind and body. That means how one can enjoy in this world. That is prayers. But not that kind of inquiry. What kind of inquiry? Shreyas. Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam. So we will discuss that. First, I am just, discussing the Sanskrit to get the understanding. So what is first to be done? First is to approach a bona fide spiritual master and submit to him. The most important thing is submission. And after submission, what he has to do? He has to inquire. Human life means a life of inquiry. In animal life, there is no inquiry. Animal life, they are very much satisfied. Why? Because if they get the opportunity for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, they are happy. Do they make any inquiry? No, there is no inquiry. Human mind, the developed mind means he is inquiring about the higher truths, about the higher facts. So, paripraśnena. And not only inquiring and asking, but how to realize what has been spoken, or what has been given to us, is through the medium of sevayā, is service. So, three very important aspects of spiritual understanding and spiritual advancement. Kṛṣṇa is saying this is the only process, tad-viddhi. There is no other process. Or any other process is a bogus process. That is not Krishna's process. That is self-made or self-manufactured process. So he says, paripraśnena. Understood what is paripraśnena? Is to submit. Then paripraśnena, inquiring on relevant aspects. Shreya Uttamam. And backed up by performing service. To whom? To the spiritual master. So submission, inquiry, inquisitiveness, and service. So when the combination of all the three is there in an aspirant or in a disciple, then the spiritual master, he is satisfied. So when he is satisfied, what he will do? Upadekṣyanti. Upadekṣyanti means that he will speak. Or here Prabhupada says they will initiate. And what will he speak? Te jñānaṁ. He will reveal that transcendental knowledge. He will not just speak. He will reveal the transcendental knowledge. And why he will reveal the transcendental knowledge? Because he is jñāninas. Because he is situated in that knowledge. Tattva-darśinaḥ. How? By factual experience. Darshina. Darshina means to see. That personality who has realized the absolute truth, he will reveal the absolute truth, that transcendental knowledge, only to such disciple who is completely submissive, who is rendering service, and who has relevant inquiries. So that transcendental knowledge can be illuminated in his heart. Then he does not have to go through all the processes. He surpasses all other processes by this process, which is the supermost or the perfection of all processes. So we will recite the prayers, because even after hearing, we do not accept. Still what we do, Prabhupada will explain. Most of us get into the zone of speculation. Rather than going in the form of acceptance and application, still what we are trying, we are still speculating. Om ajnana timirandhasya jnānāṁ shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai shri guruve namah Shri Chaitanya manobhishtam sthapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati swapadantikam vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gauragi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shuddhavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So Tad Vidhi. So Krishna is concluding this section of sacrifices and he's saying the person who is fit to receive this knowledge, what he has to do, he has to approach a bona fide spiritual master. And who is a bona fide spiritual master? Who is jñāninas, who is situated in this knowledge. And what is that jnān? Tattva-darśinaḥ. He knows the tattva. What is the tattva? The jiva tattva, who we are. He knows this material creation, the prakriti tattva, and he also knows the Ishwar tattva. He is connected with the Supreme Lord and he can connect us with the Supreme Lord. So one has to approach. So Krishna tells Arjuna, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. So in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna has already taken the position of a disciple. What did he say? Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. Yat shreyasyat nishritam guhitam. So Arjuna has already inquired about the shreyas, the ultimate good. So Krishna is revealing them. What is the ultimate good? Is now Krishna has to say, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. The position of the spiritual master in case of Arjuna is taken directly by Krishna. But for us, what we have to do, we have to accept a spiritual master who is coming in the disciplic succession, in the chain of representation from Krishna. One who is the bona fide representative of Krishna. So Prabhupada is saying in this purport that just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. No need of doing all this big sacrifices. Just simple one stroke method is just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively. This is very important. The more the submission is there, the more the knowledge will flow into the heart. The more resistance is there, ego is there, the more it is impossible to receive that knowledge. And what makes this knowledge penetrate is render service to him by performing service to him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. If you see, so which knowledge Krishna is speaking about? The second chapter, if you see how Krishna begins the second chapter. Krishna begins the second chapter by giving knowledge of the soul. And in that verse, in that section where Krishna begins to speak about the knowledge of the soul, he talks about the same words which he is speaking here. Tattva-darśinaḥ. What is the verse? Anyone remembers the verse online? Manoram Prabhu, what is the verse? Second chapter. You should be knowing the verses. This knowledge should be a part of our heart, not head, which is always cluttered. Pranav, which verse is that?
Sorry, Prabhuji. I can't remember.
You remain sorry. Sorry faced and sorry hearted. Which is the verse? Before beginning the discourse, Krishna speaks that verse. That knowledge, Krishna says, Avinashi tu tad viddhi, jñānaṁ sarvam idam natam. So, what is that verse? I have given you the hint. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah. Verse number 16. Ubhyorapi drashtvanta te anyos tattva-darśibhi. Darshibhi. Tattva-darśibhi. And here it is tattva-darśinaḥ. Same thing. So what the tattva-darśibhi is, tattva means the truth. And darshibhi means to realize the truth. Can we say we have realized the truth? No. We just have information. Isn't it? That I am not this body, I am soul. Isn't it? But even if when we die, our relatives will say they will still weep. And we still weep because we have no realization of what the soul is. But from whom the knowledge is to be imparted? One who has realized, who has seen the truth. Seen the truth means who has realized, who is living his life based on his realization. So, this process seems to be very, very simple, isn't it? What we have to do? Simple. We have to approach a bona fide spiritual master, submit to him, inquire from him, and render service. Kya dikkat hai? Is it any difficult? Is it easy or is it difficult? Huh? No, it is the most difficult. This is the most difficult thing for the modern man. First thing is, he cannot submit. Can he submit? Is it easy for you to submit? No. Prabhupada begins this purport. See how practical it is. Prabhupada says the path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. Why it is difficult? Because it warrants submission. Without submission, one cannot have any realization. That is why the modern man has no realization. He just has some information. Like you have seen that parrots were being trained. What was the training given to the parrots? That beware. When you are in the forest there are many hunters. And what they will come? They will come and trap you. How they will trap you? By, throwing some grains. And above the grain, there will be a net. So don't be allured and attracted by the grains. Because as you approach the grains, what will happen? You will be caught in the net. And what happens to the parrot? What happens? They are every time trapped. So similarly for all of us. Why? Because we do not have any spiritual realization. First, there is no spiritual inquiry. Neither there is any spiritual interest. What to speak of realization? 4.34. 4.34. So Prabhupada is saying the path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. Why? Because the human race or the human mind has to go against him. It is very difficult to go against one's mind. Is it easy to go against one's mind? No. Because the mind is always making us feel that we are the master. Master means that everyone else will submit to me. Why should I submit? I met someone many, many years back. He was studying with me. He was friendly with me. So I brought him once to the temple. And when we come to the temple. Have you come to ISKCON temple? Have you seen ISKCON temple? When I first came for the ISKCON temple for the first time, I was very much, astonished. What did I see? The ISKCON temple devotees, as soon as they enter temple, they fall flat. They fall flat. They offer pranams. And we don't see that kind of pranam being offered in any other temple. They completely fall flat. They stretch their hands and they completely fall flat. So when I first came, I saw the devotee. He first fall flat once in front of Prabhupada, then he fall flat in front of Gaur-Nitai. I was observing. I was thinking, what is he doing? What kind of gymnastic is he doing? Once, twice, thrice, many times. Yeah. So then what we see normally when you come, they just start repeating also. Those who are pious soul, those who are simple soul, they think this is the culture or this is the way to offer respect. So they do that. But there are others who deny that. So this friend of mine, who was my classmate, so when I paid obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, he was standing and watching. So I told him, you can also offer. He said, Bole, lekin ye to aap aur he is just like you and me. Why should I offer my obeisances to him? This is the modern man. He is always challenging. Yeah. He cannot understand, he cannot accept submission. So that is why Prabhupada is saying, the path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. So to make this knowledge available and accessible, Kṛṣṇa has given his representatives, his parampara. If you see in the beginning of this chapter, Kṛṣṇa has already revealed that. Kṛṣṇa has already given the formula. How to receive this knowledge? Evam parampara praptam imam rajarishyo vidho. Verse number 2. Kṛṣṇa says how you have to receive this knowledge? Not independently, but when you come in the disciplic succession. And where is the disciplic succession coming? From me only. From Kṛṣṇa. If you see our Bhagavad Gita, why this Bhagavad Gita is as it is, or why this Bhagavad Gita is very special, because it is strictly in line with parampara. If you open this page number 31, you can see in the introduction last page, the entire unbroken chain of disciplic succession, which is mentioned, which is coming from Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa first gave this knowledge to Brahma, and from Brahmaji it was passed on to Narada, and then henceforth to Vyasa and so many other spiritual masters, up to our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. So this is the only way when one can receive this knowledge, this transcendental knowledge. So Kṛṣṇa is advising here Arjuna. So you see, just to set the right example, Kṛṣṇa himself accepted the spiritual master. Kṛṣṇa is Vande Kṛṣṇa Jagat Guru. He is the spiritual master of everyone in the universe. But when he comes himself in the human-like form to perform his pastime, still he accepted a spiritual master. He went to the Gurukula to Sandipani Muni. Even Lord Ram, when he came, he went to the hermitage of Vishwamitra. Lord Chaitanya, when he came, he accepted the Sripad Ishwar Puri as his spiritual master. So everyone, whoever comes in this material world, if he has to receive this transcendental knowledge, the knowledge of his relation with the Supreme Lord, he has to take shelter of a spiritual master. Tasmad Gurum Prapaddate. What one has to do? One has to submit to the spiritual master. There is no other way. There are others who try to concoct their own ways. Prabhupada will talk about it. Very important. Why? Why it is important to take shelter of the spiritual master? Because the spiritual master has connection with the Supreme Lord. jñāninas tattva-darśinaḥ. And when we submit to the spiritual master, because he is having connection with Kṛṣṇa, he is all the time engaged in service and devotion to Kṛṣṇa. So by serving to him and submitting to him, we connect through him to Kṛṣṇa. That is the connection. And if we do not connect to Kṛṣṇa, we can never receive this knowledge. Because this knowledge, Kṛṣṇa has already said, Bhakto si me sakha cheti rahasyam hi etad uttamam. Everything is revealed in this chapter. If you see the sum and substance of how to receive this knowledge. आपको नींद आ रहा है? हिंदी अंग्रेजी समझ में नहीं आ रहा? आ रहा है तो सुनिए. So the sum and substance is that unless and until that relationship is established, this knowledge can be received only with those who are in relationship. Those who are without a relationship, they cannot receive it. Duryodhana was standing in front of Kṛṣṇa. And his father, Dhritarashtra, was receiving this knowledge one-to-one from Sanjay. But could he take any benefit from this knowledge? That knowledge never entered his heart. Why? Because they were not having relation with Kṛṣṇa. Who was having relation with Kṛṣṇa? The Pandavas. And this Duryodhana and his father, they were envious of Pandavas. So there was no possibility. So what the Guru does, he connects the disciple with the Supreme Lord. So if one has taken shelter of the Guru, if he has submitted to the Guru, so through the inspiration and the affection which the spiritual master has in his heart, that affection and inspiration of the heart of the spiritual master is passed on to the disciple. So without submission, there is no possibility. It will never be passed on. That is why Prabhupada is saying, the Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. No one. No one can receive this knowledge. Once Prabhupada was asked that what is the foremost qualification of a spiritual master? Prabhupada asked himself, he asked his disciples, that what is the one thing that we must see in a spiritual master? So his disciples gave many replies. Normally what reply they gave? That the spiritual master means that he should know all the Vedas. He should be having all the knowledge. Prabhupada said, no. That is not the qualification of a spiritual master. He is not an encyclopedia. Today you go Google. People have Guru as Google. Why? Because in Google, you can get all answers. But what is the use of that answer? Can it solve your problem? Then his disciples said that Guru means one who is a pure devotee. So many replies they were giving. But Prabhupada discarded everything. Now what was the principle? This is the principle. Prabhupada says that no one can become a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of discipline. The foremost qualification of a spiritual master is that he is a disciple of his spiritual master. That he is a disciple of his spiritual master. That is the foremost qualification. Unless and until one is shishyaste ham and is shadi maam, he can never become anything spiritual. What to speak of becoming a master? He remains on the material platform. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and the person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. So this is the flow, or this is called the parampara system. This is the parampara system. So the disciple receives this knowledge in his heart from his spiritual master. And he passes on the same knowledge which he receives from his spiritual master to his disciple. So this is the chain. This is the line of parampara system. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process. So anyone who has tried any other process, Prabhupada is completely mentioning it that it is bogus. No one can be. Prabhupada, see the words. No one. There is no exception to this. No one can be spiritualized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of foolish pretenders. Now there are many foolish people. There is one saying in English, one who selects a guru for himself. Have you heard? One who chooses a guru for himself, he selects a fool. So there are many foolish pretenders, and there are many bogus ways of accepting gurus. You see, wholesale people accept gurus, or wholesale gurus accept chelas. What they do, there is a fashion. The person, what he will do, he will place his feet in a bucket of water, and that water will be sprinkled in the assembly. And whoever receives a drop of that water is initiated. Or the guru will recite one mantra and the shishya will repeat the mantra and they are all initiated. No. What Kṛṣṇa is speaking here is the process of connection and commitment. Both. So how the connection is established? Through a tattva-darśinaḥ, who is already connected. Like you have, this electricity flowing here. Through the electricity, we are having the fans running, the lights lit. But on its own, can the light and the fan work? What it requires? Connection. There are wires. And even the wires, can it run the fan? What is required? Flow of current. And where is the current coming from? From the powerhouse. And from the powerhouse, it is stepped down. So that is why you have what you have? Transformers. Because if you try to directly connect, if you directly connect your fan wire to the pole, what will happen? It will blast. It will blast. So what you need? You need an interface. You need a wire medium. Similarly, to connect us to the Supreme Lord, what we require? We require a spiritual master. And who is the spiritual master? Who is already connected. And how is he connected? He is connected through his spiritual master. So this is a chain of spiritual masters. That is why you see our prayers that we recite before beginning. Shri Gurun Vaishnavans. Not Guru. Shri Gurun Vaishnavans. That all these spiritual masters who are coming in disciplic succession. So spiritual master is not just one. Whoever is representing the Supreme Lord is the spiritual master. For us also, there are many gurus. There is Path Pradarshak Guru, who introduces us to this path of spirituality. Path is the path. Pradarshak, one who shows the path, is a guru. Then there are Shiksha Guru, who gives us this knowledge. And then there is also Diksha Guru. But all of them, what are they? They are all in this parampara. So here Kṛṣṇa is saying that no one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following the principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. That is why Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is as it is. As Kṛṣṇa spoke to Arjuna, and as Arjuna received it in his heart, similarly Prabhupada has received this Bhagavad Gita in his heart. How? Through the instruction of his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Thakur. Concentrate here. Who has empowered him. So the same message is flowing. And what is the result of that message? You see, the world has changed forever. Yesterday and day before yesterday, we were discussing Prabhupada's arrival in America. Before Prabhupada, so many Indian yogis and, saints they entered America to preach. One of them very famous, very, very famous, Swami Vivekananda. How many Americans transformed? How many Americans became Krishna Bhakt? Anyone? Anyone became a lover of Bhagavad Gita? He went hundreds of years back. No. Because the principle is he should be in disciplic succession. From one who is the representative. Before that, many other went. Mahesh Yogi went. What he was doing? Transcendental meditation, TM. So many other. Later, who went? What was his name? Rajneesh. And so many and so forth. Hundreds, all of them. But none of them could transform. They can only give information, but they cannot bring about transformation or revolution in the heart. Because their heart is already empty and void. Their heart is not having this knowledge. They are not having Krishna in their heart. Krishna is not revealing through their heart. So that is why Prabhupada is saying here that no one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam 6.3.19 says, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 3rd chapter and 19. This is in the reference of Ajamil, the storyline of Ajamil. And in the storyline of Ajamil, Ajamil was so sinful that at the time of the death, the messengers of Yama, they came to carry him to the Yamaloka. But because he chanted the name of his son Narayan, similarly at the same time the Vishnu Dutas. So there was a argument, there is a debate between the Yam Dutas and the Vishnu Dutas. And the Vishnu Dutas, they supersede. So when the Vishnu Dutas defeat the Yam Dutas, so the Yam Dutas go back, defeated and dejected. And they approach their master, Yamraj, and say, how is it possible that we have been defeated? So he says, what you have to do, you have to explain to us what is dharma. Because today we did not see dharma happening. The dharma was rejected. So they inquire, what is the supreme dharma? And here, Yamraj is giving a discourse to his subordinates. And then he is saying this verse, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. The path of religion is directly initiated by the Lord. So who is giving this process? That viddhi paripraśnena. Who is giving this process? Lord himself. But the modern man is so foolish that he says, whatever the Lord is saying, I don't accept. I will find my own way. Yato mat, tato pat. Have you heard that? As is my thought, so will I find my way. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help one lead to any right path. So this is the disease of the modern man. What is the disease? There are two diseases we are deeply inflicted with. That is why the path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. First is that we have one desire, only one desire, that is sense gratification. We want to enjoy through this senses and this body, sense gratification. And the second is mental speculation, that we do not accept authority. We do not want to accept authority, because if we accept authority, then the mind can no longer remain our authority. If you accept someone higher than the mind, then what the mind has to do? The mind has to accept. Its authority will be compromised. So what the modern man does, he speculates. As I said, yato mat, tato pat. He will try to find his own way. You've seen? Now as the children grow up, what do they tell their parents? You please don't teach me. I will find my own way. Isn't it? You please do not give me your recommendations. I know what is good for myself. So here, Prabhupada is explaining here that as is the passion of foolish pretenders, so therefore mental speculation or dry argument. Second is arguments. Even if you tell them that what is the recommendation of the Supreme Lord, they will not agree. What they will do? Argue. Cannot help one lead to the right path, nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. Even those who are a little more inclined in Vedic study, they fall in this category. Which category? Independent study of books of knowledge. By independent study of books of knowledge, can they understand the tattva? No. But what they become? They become completely distorted or distracted. For them to know the supreme truth is impossible. Such a spiritual master, okay, one has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. This is the most important thing, is of service. Because the attitude of service, when one serves the spiritual master, what the spiritual master does, the spiritual master reveals the knowledge and he removes the obstacle. What is the biggest obstacle in our realization of the Supreme Lord? What is the biggest obstacle? Prabhupada has already mentioned here. If you are intelligent enough, you will catch it. Yeah. Why this is difficult to surrender? Not hearing attentively. Ramya, what is the answer?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, mind.
Your false ego. See, Prabhupada is saying it. One should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. So the biggest obstacle in our submission and surrender is our false ego. So it is only through the medium of a bona fide spiritual master that one is relieved and removed of this false ego covering. Otherwise, it is impossible. Can anyone remove the false ego covering? No. How it is possible is through menial service. As one submits and serves the spiritual master, what he does, he dissolves his false ego. Then further Prabhupada says, such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender. And one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. This is the most important aspect. Satisfaction of the spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. So one has to first submit and inquire. Without submission, one does not have any right for inquiry. Most of the time, we inquire also, but we inquire not in submission, but with challenging mood. In a mood to check whether the person knows the right answer or not. Or many times we try to think, I will checkmate him. How? By my intelligent question. Let me test how much he knows. Let me see what answer can he give. So that is not submission. And then that inquiry is also not proper inquiry. And then Prabhupada says, this is the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. So only submission and inquiry is not sufficient. What is required? Service. Service is required. I'll give you one example. You have all heard about Sri Madan Mohan Malviya ji. Have you heard about Madan Mohan Malviya? Not heard about Madan Mohan Malviya? He was one of the pioneers of the freedom movement also. And he was a great reformer. He started the Institute of Banaras Hindu University. He was the founder. Very learned, very knowledgeable person. So once he met Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. That is in the pre-independence day. And he met Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And when he met Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, I have some questions to ask. So Maharaj said, okay, I will answer them. But at that time, when he was sitting there with Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Swami Thakur, one devotee came who was engaged in service of the deities. So Bhaktivedanta Maharaj said that, can you please go along with him and help him in performing some service? And Madan Mohan Malviya was a pious soul. He was not an ordinary soul. He immediately agreed. And he went with that devotee and they performed service. What was the service? The service was to clean the utensils of the deities. You come in the temple, na? If you have to perform Aarti, if you see our lamps and all, it is shining. It is every time cleaned after performing Aarti. Kṛṣṇa is offered bhoga. Every time the bhoga is offered, the dishes are very impeccably clean. You have seen our temple, na? Everything is, kept in proper cleanliness. So, after 2 hours, Madan Mohan Malviya came back. And Maharaj asked him, were you able to perform service? And he said, yes. And he said, are you satisfied? He said, yes. And Maharaj asked him, is your question answered? And he said, yes. He bowed down to Bhaktivedanta Swami Thakur and said, yes, my questions are answered. How did he receive the realization? Proper submission. He just said that he wants to inquire. And Maharaj told him to perform service. So this is very important. So inquiry is based on submission and realization is based on service attitude. If proper service attitude is not there, I'll give you one more example. You all know about Sripad Ramanujacharya. You've heard Ramanujacharya, a great Vaishnava of Sri Sampradaya. He had 2 very special disciples, very, very outstanding disciples. You know the names of his disciples? One is Quresh and the other is Dashrati. Dashrati was a very big scholar, very learned, very, very proficient in all the Vedic scriptures. Although the South Indian Brahmins are very proficient, but he was, an exemplary amongst all. So he was the disciple of Ramanujacharya. He was also a relative of Ramanujacharya. But he had little pride in his heart. Why? Because of his learning and proficiency in the Vedas. So once he came and asked Sripad Ramanujacharya that I want to understand the actual meaning of Sarv Dharmani Parityaja. What is the proper understanding of this verse, Sarv Dharmani Parityaja, which is the final instruction of Kṛṣṇa in Bhagavad Gita. So Ramanujacharya did not answer to him. He said, you come to me some other time. I am busy. Again and again he was approaching. So when again and again he was approaching, so Ramanujacharya said that if you really want to know the meaning of this verse, then you go to my spiritual master, Sri Goshti Purna. Goshti Purna is that spiritual. Ramanujacharya had many spiritual masters. He took Diksha from Mahapurna, but he took Siksha from so many. And he got that mantra, that very empowered mantra from Goshti Purna. So he sent his disciple Dashrati to go to Goshti Purna. And when he went to Goshti Purna, he told Goshti Purna that my spiritual master, your disciple, Ramanuja, has sent me to you to learn the understanding of the verse Sarv Dharmani Parityaja. So Goshti Purna engaged him in various services and kept him busy. And whenever he would come and ask, he would give some service. For 6 months, Goshti Purna did the same thing. And after 6 months, when this Dashrati was frustrated that he is not revealing what is the meaning of the Sarv Dharmani Parityaja, my Guru is not revealing, he is sending me to his Guru, and his Guru is engaging me in so many services, but he is still not revealing. I have come here not for doing all this nonsense. I have come to know what is the true meaning. So Goshti Purna knew in his heart that his pride has still not been eliminated. So he said that, listen, Dashrati, if you really want to know what is the meaning of Sarvadharmani Parityaja, go back to Ramanuja. After coming all the way, some 1,000 years back, at that time there were no means of transport, bus or train. They had to travel by foot. Months of travel, 6 months spent there, and again came back empty-handed, more frustrated. And he again came and surrendered and submitted to Ramanujacharya. And Ramanujacharya asked him, so have you understood the meaning of Sarvadharmani Parityaja? Then he told whatever happened to him. And at the same time, his other spiritual master, Mahapurna's daughter, came. And Mahapurna's daughter was speaking to Ramanujacharya, and she was complaining that my in-laws, they have made my life very difficult. I have to do all the homework, all the household work. I am the lone soul. I have to fetch water from such far. The river is so far. I have to clean all the utensils. I have to cook. I have to take care of the children. I have to bring woods from the forest. My life is so difficult. And when I ask them for some help, so they have asked me that go to your father and bring a help. You know, household help assistant. So when this lady was explaining all this, so Ramanuja was looking at Dashrati. And he said, he is that help. You take him. And Dashrati is appalled. He said, what are you doing this to me? Well, do you want to know the meaning of Sarvadharmani Parityaja? He said, yes. Then go with her. Go with her. So in this way, Goshti Purna's daughter, Mahapurna's daughter, takes Dashrati along with him to his village. And what is he engaged in? He goes to the forest, he chops the trees, brings the wood. He goes to the river, brings the water. Entire day he is in full smoke. He is cooking food. He is cleaning the utensils, and all this is happening. And once in their village, one sannyasi came. And he was giving a discourse. He was speaking. So Dashrati was a scholar. So he also went and heard him. And when he heard this sannyasi speaking, he was an impersonalist. He was a Mayavadi sannyasi. So he was talking about that the Supreme Lord is impersonal. And you can also become supreme. So Dashrati challenged him. He said, no, my dear sir, you are not speaking the right version of the Vedas. So the sannyasi asked, who is this fellow who is challenging me? So everyone in the village said, he is illiterate person, he is useless person, he is a cook, he is a household assist. So the sannyasi became irritated. He said, how dare you, ignorant, illiterate person, you are questioning me. If you think you know better than me, come here and speak. So Dashrati was looking for that opportunity. He came and he started to interpret the Shastras. And he completely smashed that sannyasi. And when the sannyasi was smashed and he revealed so much from the Vedic scriptures, he quoted so profusely. So everyone was stunned. That who is this person who was here? How can a cook know so much? Then when he was asked that please identify yourself, give us your real identity. So Dashrati said, I am the disciple of Ramanuja and my name is Dashrati. And they all become, very terrified and horrified. What have we done? We have engaged such a scholar, such a big Pandit in our home for all these services. So all of them, they rushed to Ramanuja and said that we cannot keep him in our house. How much of sinful reaction we will receive by engaging him in our service? So then Ramanuja called him back. And while on the way he was coming back, he was so much empowered by Ramanuja that there was one village of Brahmanas and all the Brahmanas were impersonalists. So Ramanujacharya made Dashrati wash his feet in the pond from where all the impersonalists were taking water in the night. And next day morning, all those Brahmanical community, they came to take water and they drank. And all of their hearts transformed. They became devotees of God. That is the empowerment of the spiritual wisdom. But what is the essential lesson? Is submission and service. Without submission and service, there is no empowerment. There is no realization. That is what we were discussing yesterday. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave the instruction to Srila Prabhupada that why don't you go and preach? And when Prabhupada is embarking on the land of America, he is profusely praying. He is profusely calling and crying to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Kṛṣṇa that please empower me to accomplish this mission. And there on that prayer, he is accomplished and empowered. So the empowerment of the spiritual understanding is only based on submission. One can only serve when he is submissive. Otherwise, there is no question of service. One who is thinking himself a master, how can he serve? And what inquiry can he have? His inquiry will be, how can I increase my sense gratification? So here Prabhupada is saying that therefore mental speculation or dry agreement cannot help one on the right path, nor by independent study of book. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant, like Dashrati. So whenever we are doing service, we should not think that we are serving someone. I am A serving B or B serving C. We are all performing service because we want to please our spiritual master. Then only it is possible to serve. Otherwise, we will not be able to serve. This false prestige and false ego will come in. So if one is really submitted to his spiritual master, then he can serve. So Dashrati was submitted to his spiritual master. He could serve. He could do all those menial services. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiry and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be fulfilled. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master. This is another aspect. If you are very serious in the spiritual life, there will be test. Prabhupada was tested. How many times? So many times. Severely tested. Dashrati was tested. Everyone is tested. As one will advance, as one will receive the knowledge, this test will come. Without being tested, one cannot advance. And when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. So the spiritual knowledge is transferred not from head, it is transferred from heart. So the heart has to be connected. The connection is of the heart. And the commitment is to carry out the instruction. Then the connection is established. If the commitment to carry out the instruction is there, then the commitment of the heart or the connection of the heart is there. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Not only one should hear submissively from the spiritual master, but the first thing is how one begins the process of spiritual understanding is by the process of hearing. Hearing. But one must get a clear understanding for him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind to the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and the inquiries become perfect. Many important aspects. And one, I am reminded of one of the devotees who really inspired me in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. He was sharing his story of life. He came from a very pious and opulent Gujarati family. In India, you know, Gujaratis, they are very pious people, very rich people. A very rich family of pious Gujaratis. He was in Mumbai. His father was a big businessman. So he started to join ISKCON. With his friend, he first came to ISKCON. Wait. You here. Let them do whatever they want to do. If you really want to advance, and if you want to really learn, become little detached. Let the world do whatever they want to do. But let me be clear and focus what I want to do. If we can make our path clear, then there will not be any disturbance. So this devotee was sharing with me. So his father, he became very, very, disturbed by seeing his son coming to the ISKCON devotees. And this devotee, who later became a devotee, he was a student in his life at that time. He was finding so much of inspiration. And he was hearing, he was hearing Krishna Katha from one of his ISKCON gurus. He was foreign body. So when the son expressed to his father that I want to take initiation from an ISKCON guru who is born in America, so his father completely became, against. He said that if you take Diksha from someone who is non-Indian, I will expel you from my house. I will expel you from my property. I will expel you from my business. You will become a beggar on the road. See, the spiritual master is not a ritual. What he was saying, if you have to accept a spiritual master, you have to accept someone who is my spiritual master or who is our family spiritual master. That is ritual. That is not spiritual. But this son said that, but my father, I have been hearing from that spiritual master since my childhood, but never ever attraction to Krishna in my heart was invoked. Never ever that desire to perform devotional service in my heart was invoked. But now when I am hearing this spiritual master, there is so much of desire to render service to Krishna, to submit to Krishna, to know about Krishna, to know about myself. I am getting so much of inspiration and connection from Krishna. So why don't you allow me? He said, no. No. If you want to be in my family, you have to accept my will. And he expelled. But anyway, this devotee, he followed his heart and the inspiration of his heart. So, accepting a spiritual master is not a ritual. You have to accept that person who inspires you to come closer to Krishna, who has the potency, who can connect you to Krishna. And when you submit to him and serve to him, you come closer to Krishna. This is the sum and substance of the spiritual master. To revive the relationship, the lost relationship of the jiva with the Supreme Lord of Krishna. So Krishna is telling here. So that is the topmost knowledge. The knowledge of one's relationship with Krishna. And how it can be received? One who is submitting and serving. And of course, he is inquisitive. Not everyone can do that. So that is the only way to receive this transcendental knowledge. And one who has received this transcendental knowledge, what is his glorious position? That Krishna will reveal in the following verses. That we will discuss next time. It is exactly 9 o'clock. Yeah. Wait. Let us try to digest what we have discussed. Otherwise, many times, there are worms in the stomachs. Even if you eat, it does not affect you. So Krishna is saying, tad-viddhi paripraśnena. This is the only process. This is the only viddhi which surpasses all other viddhi. Krishna has expressed so many viddhis. So he says that one single stroke is a master stroke if you submit to my representative. By submission, surrender, service, you can receive this practice. And how Arjuna received? Arjuna, look at the level of surrender of Arjuna. What did Krishna ask him? What did Krishna ask Arjuna? To kill his grandfather Bhishma. Isn't it? If we are asked, can we do that? We will never do that. Krishna, what price did Krishna ask to give this knowledge to Arjuna? he told, kill your Guru Drona. And Arjuna killed. So Arjuna passed the test of Kṛṣṇa. Prabhupada is saying, one has to pass the test of the spiritual master. This knowledge will not come so cheap. So without sacrifice, without submission and without surrender, one cannot receive this knowledge. But our spiritual master, as Prabhupada is saying in the final statement, very important statement. The bona fide spiritual master by nature is very kind to the disciple. We will not be asked such tests. Why? Because our spiritual master knows we will never do that. So he gives us very simple tests. What are the simple tests? Follow 4 regulative principles. On the day of initiation, he says, just follow 4 regulative principles. This is one test. Then he says, chant minimum 16 rounds. On special days, chant 24, 25 rounds. And then he says, you study Srila Prabhupada books and do some service. What is the service? You consciousness. But we are so stubborn and we are so rebellious that we still do not want to do that. And still we are thinking we can receive this knowledge. So that is what Prabhupada is saying. This is the fashion of foolish pretenders. So very important that whatever instructions we are given, that we must take it to our heart. Because through the instructions, we are submitting to the instruction and trying to execute it, we will satisfy the spiritual master. And to the extent we satisfy the spiritual master, this knowledge will automatically flow. This knowledge will automatically flow. Because Divya Gyan is Hridaya Prakashit. I'll give you one more story, very inspiring story. I read it in Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's autography. Bhakti Vikas Maharaj has given that. There was one disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur who was illiterate. And he used to do gardening seva, Mali ka seva karta in Mayapur. And Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur had many, many disciples from all walks of life. Some of them very, very literate, very knowledgeable, very educated, very aristocratic. So there was one doctor. So he used to come. He was also a disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur. So he said that I want to be like your disciples who are very learned, like Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj and others, like Sridhar Rakshak Swami Maharaj, that they are so, proficient in Vedas, in Shastras. They speak so well. They quote so much Vedas. They quote so many literatures. So I also want to be like them. That is normal. Who does not want? So Maharaj said, so he was thinking that Maharaj will tell him that, okay, you can be with Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj so that you can learn from him and you can also become proficient. Or you can be with Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. But no, Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj told him that you go and be with my disciple. He told the name of that disciple who was gardener. So this disciple who was the doctor, who was very learned, very educated rather. So he inquired that who is that person, who is that disciple from whom I have to learn. So he went and met him and he found out that that disciple is illiterate. He said, how is this possible? Why is my spiritual master sending me to him? He is sending me, who is an MBBS doctor qualified, to an illiterate man. And this disciple was so humble. He said, what can I teach you when I cannot read and write? So he said, maybe you have heard the wrong name. You have heard the wrong name. So he came back to Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj. And he said that maybe I have heard something wrong, Maharaj. Did I hear rightly? I went and met that devotee and that devotee does this service. And when I met him, he told me that he cannot read and write. So did I hear properly? Did you assign me to him or did you assign me to someone else? So Maharaj said, you heard rightly. I have assigned you to him only. But then he said, but what can I learn from him? He cannot read and he cannot write. So he said, but if you want to really learn, go to him. Again went there. And when he again came back, and he was told, that devotee was told, who was the gardener, that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj has again directed him. And when he started to speak, that devotee was the gardener, this disciple was amazed. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur accepted whom as the spiritual master? Who is the spiritual master of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Srila Gaur Kishore Das Baba Maharaj. Is he very learned? Is he literate? In material terms, he is not literate, but he knows the tattva. So satisfaction of the spiritual master, that satisfaction is the reward. That the spiritual knowledge is manifest in the end. Otherwise, you try whatever. One can never come to know that he is not this body, he is spirit. So can one realize? One cannot realize. It is only by the blessings and the mercy of the spiritual master. When the spiritual master is pleased by the service, then only one can realize. That is why Kṛṣṇa is telling here, tad viddhi paripraśnena, paripraśnena sevayā. Then, seeing your service attitude, your submission, and your urge, your utkantha to know who is Kṛṣṇa, to hear about Kṛṣṇa, then they will speak. Upadekṣyanti jñānaṁ, jñāninas tattva-darśinaḥ. That is the only way to receive this knowledge. The knowledge which Kṛṣṇa gave to Arjuna. Hare Krishna. Ab puchiye, kya question? Very, very beautiful verse. And Kṛṣṇa is revealing the entire crux of Bhagavad Gita in this verse. A very important purport. Read it at least. My teacher told me 100 times. 100 times read this purport. But I really doubt. If we are really keen and interested, we will. And if we are making a show, then mental speculation and dry argument and independent study of books. Yes, बोलिए. मैं स्वामी जी नहीं हूँ, मैं शिष्य हूँ. पांडव प्रेम दास.
वही बात है भगवान श्री कृष्ण को समझ हम जैसे क्या संभव है.
बहुत अच्छा. भगवान बताते हैं भगवत गीता में ही इसका आंसर है, कि आप उसको जान सकते हैं. श्लोक खोलिए 11:54. अच्छा प्रश्न है. बिल्कुल सही कहा आपने. कृष्ण को कृष्ण के अलावा कोई नहीं जान सकता. अब जैसे राष्ट्रपति है आज देश के, या मोदी जी हैं, सुनिए, मोदी जी को आप अपने घर आने पे विवश कर सकते हैं कि आपके साथ आके खाना खाएं? कर सकते हैं आप कुछ भी प्रयास करें, कर सकते हैं. अगर मोदी जी खुद सेलेक्ट कर ले कि वो आपके घर आएंगे, तो कोई समस्या है? तो कोई समस्या है? वो जाते हैं ना, कभी किसी के घर चले जाते हैं, अचानक ही कहीं से गाड़ी मोड़ लिए, चलो आज इसके घर चलते हैं. तो भगवान को कौन जान सकता है? भगवान खुद ही बता रहे. और कैसे जान सकता है ये भी बता रहे. इसलिए भगवत गीता का जो ज्ञान है वो पूर्ण है, संपूर्ण है. 11:54 खोलिए. देखिए भगवान क्या बता रहे हैं, कैसे जान सकते हैं उनको, और कितना जान सकते हैं, और कहां तक जान सकते हैं, सब कुछ बता रहे हैं. बोलिए श्लोक. आपको संस्कृत आती है? आपने अभी पढ़ा ना श्लोक. भक्त्या तु अनन्या शक्या अहम एवं विदु अर्जुना ज्ञातुम दृष्टुम च तत्वेन प्रविष्टुम च परन्तप. पढ़िए इसका ट्रांसलेशन. कैसे? एज आई एम. आगे पढ़िए. अच्छा, आगे पढ़िए. बाकी क्या रहा? ज्ञातुम. ज्ञातुम का मतलब क्या है? टू नो मी कंप्लीटली. not partially. Drishtum, see me, always, everywhere. How च तत्वेन, आपका यही प्रश्न था ना, उस तत्व को कैसे जानेंगे? तो कृष्ण ही अपने तत्व के बारे में बताया। ज्ञातुम भी दृष्टुम तत्वेन, केवल इतना ही, प्रविष्टुम च परन्तप, ना सिर्फ तुम मुझे देख पाओगे या जान पाओगे, लेकिन मेरे हृदय में भी आ जाओगे। और क्या चाहिए? कुछ बाकी रह गया क्या? हाँ, लेकिन ऐसे गीता किसी ने पढ़ाई नहीं, ना किसी ने दिखाई। गीता में सब कुछ है, आप कोई भी प्रश्न कहीं से ले आइए। भगवान ने कैसे बताया? तत्वेन। और दूसरा बताता हूँ, 4वां अध्याय और 9वां श्लोक पढ़िए। कई जगह बताया भगवान ने। जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम एवं यो वेति तत्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नेति मामेति सो अर्जुन। पढ़े।
nature of our experience and activity nothing. Upon living upon
क्या बोल? one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance. भगवान खुद बता रहे हैं, इससे पहले बताया उन्होंने। क्या बताया? अजो अपि सन अव्ययात्मा भूतानाम ईश्वरोऽपि सन प्रकृतिं स्वाम अधिष्ठाय संभवामि आत्ममायया। तो सब कुछ है। भगवान ने गीता केवल इसीलिए दी है, उनको तत्व से जानने के लिए, उनके साथ संबंध बनाने के लिए। संबंध तो हमारा है, वो कभी विच्छेद नहीं हो सकता, लेकिन अभी क्या हो गया है, वो भूल गए हैं। जैसे सन तो हमेशा स्काई में रहता है। कभी ऐसा होता है कि सन स्काई में नहीं हो, लेकिन क्या आ जाता है उसके सामने? क्लाउड्स आ जाता है ना, तो हमको सन नहीं दिखता। तो अभी जो क्लाउड्स है हमारे कॉन्शियसनेस के, उन क्लाउड्स को, इग्नोरेंस को रिमूव करने के लिए भगवान ने ज्ञान दिया। और दिखाऊं मैं आपको? बहुत जगह दिया है भगवान ने। 55वें श्लोक में, 18वें अध्याय में भी दिया है। भक्त्या माम अभिजानाति यावान यश्चास्मि तत्वतः। 18:55 खोलिए। एक जगह नहीं बताया है, 18:55, 18 चैप्टर 55 श्लोक। खोल के दे दो ना, इतना टाइम क्यों लेगा? पढ़िए। 18:55, 45 नहीं, 55 पढ़िए।
one can understand as I as the supreme master.
लेकिन समस्या क्या है कि हम ये नहीं करते जो वो कह रहे हैं। क्या? डिवोशनल सर्विस। डिवोशनल सर्विस करने के लिए क्या चाहिए? स्पिरिचुअल मास्टर चाहिए, क्योंकि जब हम उसकी इंस्ट्रक्शन पे सेवा करेंगे तभी वो डिवोशनल सर्विस है, वरना वो डिवोशनल सर्विस है ही नहीं। तो भगवान को कोई नहीं जान सकता। आप 10वां अध्याय, अब वो भी दिखाते हैं, 10वां अध्याय और दूसरा श्लोक पढ़िए। भगवान खुद ही कह रहे हैं, मुझे कोई जान ही नहीं सकता। जीव की क्या बात कर रहे हो? बड़े बड़े देवता और ऋषि नहीं जान सकते, तो साधारण जीव कहां से जाएगा? ना मे विदुर सुरगणा प्रभवं च महर्षया अहमादिर हि देवानां ऋषीणां च सर्वशः। पढ़े। neither the host of demigod, right from Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, everyone, neither the host of demigods nor the great sages. आगे कुछ नहीं जान सकते वो। तो अब प्रश्न ये आता है, जब बड़े बड़े देवता नहीं जान सकते, जब बड़े बड़े ऋषि नहीं जान सकते, तो हम कैसे जान सकते हैं? आंसर मिल गया या नहीं मिला? मिला? क्या आंसर है बताइए? तो उनकी कृपा फिर तो सेजस को मिल जाएगी, देवताओं को मिल जाएगी, हमें क्यों मिलेगी? उनकी कृपा प्राप्त करने के लिए हमारे पास क्या साधन है? परंपरा। परंपरा, कमिंग इन परंपरा। भगवान ने बताया ना, 4वां अध्याय 2वां श्लोक खोलिए। जो आप कह रहे हैं वो सही है, ऐसे कोई जान ही नहीं सकता कृष्ण को। बड़े बड़े देवता नहीं जान सकते, बड़े बड़े ऋषि नहीं जान सकते, लेकिन उन्होंने ही प्रोसेस दिया उनको जानने के लिए। अगर उस प्रोसेस को हम स्वीकार करेंगे तो हम उनको जान जाएंगे। वो क्या इसमें बताया 4थे अध्याय के दूसरे श्लोक में, एवं परंपरा प्राप्तम इमं राज ऋषियो विदो सा काले न महता योगो नष्ट परंतप। पढ़िए। सक्सेशन। हाँ, तो डिसिप परंपरा में, अगर हम परंपरा में है, अगर हमारा कनेक्शन है, अगर हम कमिटेड है तो प्राप्त हो जाएगा। आज हम बोल रहे हैं कि हम आज कुछ लोग आए थे मुझसे मिलने के लिए, भक्त हैं, हस्बैंड वाइफ थे, उनके 2 बच्चे थे। तो जो हस्बैंड है वो पीएमओ ऑफिस में, वो पीएमओ ऑफिस में पूछ रहा था, बात कर रहा था। और पीएमओ ऑफिस में क्या करते हैं, कुछ उनकी सिक्योरिटी देखते हैं। तो बता रहे थे कि उनके पास एक मशीन है, वो उस मशीन से पूरी बॉडी का टेस्ट 10 मिनट में बता देते हैं। बोले पीएम का डेली टेस्ट होता है। उनसे कहते हैं आप बैठे थे तो वो मशीन हम भी ले आए क्या आपके लिए। मैं कहता हमें क्या करना है उस मशीन की हमें क्या जरूरत है उस मशीन की, हमें कोई जरूरत नहीं। फिर भी वो बोलने लगे वो सेवा करना चाहते थे, बोले कि भक्तों की सेवा हो जाएगी इसी बार। मैं कहा ले आइएगा, देख लेंगे उसमें क्या। तो हमको तो वो मशीन के बारे में पता भी नहीं। ठीक है, पीएम के पास है, वो पीएम के साथ कनेक्टेड है, तो वो मशीन वो हमारे साथ भी कनेक्टेड, तो हमें भी मिल जाएगी। हमें कुछ पैसा देना उसके लिए, कुछ नहीं करना। कनेक्शन, ये बता रहे कनेक्शन कैसे स्टैब्लिश हो। कनेक्शन का मीडियम क्या है, भगवान के प्रतिनिधि है। तो जो भगवान के प्रतिनिधि है उनके साथ कनेक्ट हो गए तो भगवान से ऑटोमेटिक कनेक्ट हो। और जो कनेक्ट नहीं हुआ वो कुछ भी कर ले, कुछ भी प्रयास कर ले, चाहे वो कोई भी हो, कनेक्ट नहीं हुआ। और कनेक्शन का तरीका क्या है वो भी बता रहे। व्हाट इज द प्रोसेस ऑफ कनेक्शन, तद विधि पaripaatena paripraśnena sevayā। ठीक है, और किसी का कोई प्रश्न है तो पूछे। बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट प्रश्न है, कैसे हम भगवान को जाने, या भगवान हमसे क्या चाहते हैं हम उसको कैसे जाने।
How do one know that the spiritual master is satisfied?
How to know the spiritual master is satisfied? You will have more enthusiasm to perform service. Simple. Service will not be a burden. Service will become a source of joy. That is the gift of the spiritual master. Just 2 days back, we came from Haridwar. Na? So almost 2-3 days I was communicating with Bhurijan Prabhu. So I received one photograph. I did not share. They took Maharaj for Snan. You saw that photo? And Bhurijan was washing his Maharaj's feet. So when he called me, I said that I was happy to see your photograph. He is always in the background doing service, never comes in the forefront. So he told me that when we were leaving, Maharaj is still in Haridwar. So when they were leaving, so his wife asked Bhurijan Prabhu that asked Maharaj that whether he is satisfied or not with whatever service we did in the yatra, whatever arrangement we made. So he said that I cannot ask this question. If you want to ask, you ask. She is also initiated from Maharaj. So she took some courage and she asked Maharaj that Maharaj, are you happy with this yatra? And Maharaj said, I am very happy. So you will have more enthusiasm to perform service. Your sadhana will become simple. Your sadhana will become so easy. Chanting 16 rounds is what? Like one devotee was saying that eating 16 rasgulla. How difficult it is to eat 16 rasgulla? If you are given the best of the rasgulla, it's difficult to eat 16 rasgulla. But if you are not serving, that rasgulla will become Karela. You cannot even eat one. So, very simple. You will have more enthusiasm. You will have more joy in performing devotional service. That is the sign of advancement. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the Assembled. Hare Krishna.